Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenan Revolutionary. Very, very quickly, I just want to talk about what's going on in Kenya. Latest that's going on in Kenyan politics. As you know, there was a bombshell. FBI dropped some parts of the classified files on Epstein, and I won't talk about the whole thing because I haven't even gone through it yet, but I'm just going by the snippets that has been posted out there, especially the ones that relate to Kenya. Uh, this got into my attention. I guess the files dropped on Friday, this coming Friday, this past Friday, which is what, the day before yesterday or so yesterday, something like that. Anyways, and the first it, my it caught my attention when I had people mentioning about Jay Z and Pusha T. For those of you who like hip hop, and other names, interesting names that are involved. Okay, like the mother to the New York, the current Mamdani, the mother to the current New York mayor, who was involved with Epstein, had meetings with Epstein, and so forth. So I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I haven't read it yet. I haven't had time to read these files. But what shocked me was, Zioki, who apparently has been released now, uh, Gaito, and some other folks, Kenyan independent journalists, came out and posted, you know, things that relates to Kenya. And I'm telling you, oh boy, woo, Charlie, what's in there was crazy. Okay, I just before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the formalities. If this is your first time here, my name is Kenan Revolutionary. I talk about politics, wild politics, and Kenyan politics, and wild politics relates to Kenya. So if you like that kind of content, please take a minute and subscribe, share, like, comment, and do all the good stuff. If you've already subscribed, make sure your bell button is on and like the video. If you're going to watch this on repeat, like the video, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, share, like, comment, and do all the good stuff. So let's get to it. Anyway, so apparently, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, during Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, the past 2 years, from 2013 up to 2022, I believe. Within that time frame, there's some years back then. I think it was back in 2014ish. Um, you know, Epstein was communicating with uh, the Kenyan government. Actually, Uhuru Kenyatta's representative, friend, or whatever the case is, and they were talking about some kind of routes, as we say them, or if you're American, routes, panya routes, as in some routes from Kenya to Tanzania and all that stuff. Well, just nonsense. But it was kind of like a code word for, you know, uh, how they're going to transport, like allegedly, and that's all this is alleged, ladies and gentlemen. Do not hold me to it. Go check it for yourself. Go to Gaito's page, go to uh, Gioki's page. You'll see they posted it. And with a snip, the part of the file that addresses this, where email was there was communication from Uhuru Kenyatta's office and Epstein himself, who actually at some point was in Malindi. But anyway, Epstein was kind of arranging this. Was talking to communicating with the Uhuru's administration how they are going to create this route from Kenya to Mogadishu and all this stuff. But now people started asking themselves, Epstein is, he was never somebody he wasn't a philanthropist like Bill Gates or something like that. No, this guy does not get involved in development projects in the world. Nah. He is known, as most people suspected, he was Mossad agent who was used in blackmailing operations. Um, but he was being painted as this rich billionaire who, you know, uh, gives charity. Or well, let me just say, okay, philanthropist. That's how they kind of try to paint him as, not painting him as like dress him as to the public. But anyway, so apparently He was organizing routes, uh, where goods will be moved from Kenya to Somalia and Sudan or whatever the case is, which people are saying, speculating, or interpreting as, these were routes where the human trafficking will be, the traffic of children will take place. Okay, because people are saying, Epstein never gets involved himself with, development of nations. He's not into that. I'll help third world countries build roads or whatever. No, he doesn't involve himself in that. So the only logical conclusion was that Epstein was, negotiating how he would, transportation of. And by the way, Kenya was ranked number one country, the second country in Africa for human traffic. Is it human traffic or child traffic? All the same is trafficking. Okay. Good year. I'm glad to see you. Karibu sana. So, and we've been hearing cases of children, in Kenya getting lost. Some of them are being adopted, and nobody follow up. We don't know what happens to them. Some people are speculating. This is all alleged, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Don't hold me to it. It's all alleged. Because apparently Mama Ngina has an organization of children. Mama Ngina, who is Kenyatta's mother, Uhuru Kenyatta's mother. She has I think a school, a children's home or something like that for kids who been adopted, or street kids, or whatever the case is. All right, well, I don't know, whatever. And people are speculating that through that they were using that to, ship these kids out, whatever the case is, to the highest bidder. Now, like I said, I have to be careful with this. This is all alleged. Alleged. Thank you so much, Goodyear, for liking this. So I'm not putting that charge on her. This is all that's been alleged. But there was clear communication between Uhuru Kenyatta's administration and Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, okay? That we cannot deny. And it goes back to even this administration right now. So, listen, if you know anything about Jeffrey Epstein, if you understand anything about Jeffrey Epstein, now that so they say he's dead, but I personally believe this guy is not dead. But whatever the case is, all right? He was involved in blackmailing a lot of countries, politicians, not only on the Western Front. I mean, there are people who are talking about Starmer, who is the British Prime Minister. It is rumored that he was involved in some kind of trafficking back in the day before he became who he is today. So, and this is all was done and, arranged by, the Epstein affiliated people, okay? If you know what you mean. So, this goes deep. This goes deep, ladies and gentlemen. But you have to go on your X page, go to Gaito and Zioki. Zinzioki on Zioki. Yeah, the guy who was, like I said, I follow him. He has a really interesting perspective on things. In fact, I think one of the reasons why he got abducted is when he came out and, there was somebody who was asking, why is Mama Ngina live so long and she looks so young? And Zioki replied that, it's through the adrenochrome. Okay, if you know what adrenochrome is, it's derived by, basically drinking kids' blood. A lot of celebrities in Hollywood use it to look young. But anyway, those are all, this is delving deep into conspiracy theory. But do your own research. I will not go down that rabbit hole today because it's Sunday. So, yes, Goodyear, these people are evil. But anyway, but it is quite apparent, especially if you read what's going on, that the Uhuru Kenyatta administration, and it is also rumored the Kenyatta family, are deeply involved, allegedly, in human trafficking, child trafficking, whatever the case. The evidence is there with Jeffrey Epstein. There was clear correspondence, email, time the email was sent, communication between the two, all that. Okay? And there was also another lady called Peggy who was trying to get some 2 kids to Madonna. Madonna is also kind of, trying to adopt. These kids are being adopted from Africa. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy. So the bigger point which I want to make here is that our leaders are compromised. The Kenyan leaders are compromised, okay? Without mentioning that, not saying that without mentioning the names, I'm just saying our leaders. I've been saying this since Ruto came to power, when Uhuru was in power. I've been saying these guys are nothing but colonial stooges. They work for the global elites. And if you know anything about the global elites, they get involved in some really, really sick stuff. Okay. So now I want to connect that to what is happening in Kenya as far as the power structure. We are facing an election. Yeah. Woo. We are facing an election, okay? General election 2027. And everyone and his mama and their mama is running for president. Some say Idi Amin and Saddam Hussein or clean only. Now, I like this. Video when say some 70 Idi Amin, Saddam are and were only clean people. I won't say they were totally clean as far as their deeds, but now if you compare to the kind of atrocities that were being committed by the global elites, now Museveni, don't get me wrong, Museveni is part of is their stooge. I'm not saying Museveni was involved in Epstein files or some sickle stuff. I don't know. There's no evidence of that. But I'm talking about as far as the stranglehold that he has Uganda on a chokehold, okay, for what, 40 years now, and he is willing to crush anybody and brutalize anyone that's challenging his power, okay. So he's dirty as far as that is concerned. Now, is Museveni involved in some human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking, or whatever the case? I don't know. There's no evidence of that. I have no idea. I haven't seen any evidence, so I won't put it to them. Idi Amin, now with the benefit of hindsight, I think Idi Amin meant well for Uganda, and majority of the things that he was being accused of, as far as killing people anyhow, were propaganda. Now that is not to say that he was all the way innocent, as far as he did not do any wrong. But if you're looking at it from the Pan-African perspective, what he really wanted to achieve for Uganda, I think he meant well. He promoted self-independence. He wanted to maintain the sovereign nature of Uganda. Of course, he might have been, the massacre of, I think, Acholi people somewhere in Uganda that happened under his watch. So there's a lot of stuff that, not to say that, we should brush off and say that, okay, we don't care what he does as long as he's a Pan-Africanist, is all about Ugandan sovereignty. It's okay for him to commit atrocities against his people. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you compare, in comparison to what the globalists, the colonialists, the kind of atrocities they have done in the hands of the indigenous people, I think Uganda and Idi Amin wanted Uganda to be a sovereign, self-reliant nation. Okay, and I think majority of the things he was being accused of, or what his administration was being accused of, was majorly propaganda. In fact, there's a journalist who fled from Uganda and ran to UK, admitted to saying that he wrote a lot of articles that were basically lies about Idi Amin. So, Idi Amin, I think, meant well. But, again, we cannot say that he was a saint. Saddam Hussein, Now that's really complicated. Saddam Hussein again. Saddam Hussein was installed by the West. Okay, midpoint in his rule, he kind of went haywire. Okay. Uh, Now I never lived in Iraq uh, under Saddam Hussein rule. I read very little about Iraq during Saddam's rule, and I cannot. Uh, sorry, I'm crackling. Yeah, I know that. I know Ruto is working on Ruto and Uhuru are working on messing my message up. I hope I'm clear now. Poleni, I say I'm crackling really bad. Poleni. I know that people who are trying to deny. Okay, let's see. Let me try again. You know, when I'm cracking like that, you know, the saboteurs are really working to, you know, do their thing. But I hope I'm clear now. Am I clear? Is it much better? But anyway, as I was saying, I would say that Saddam Hussein, Idi Amin, and Museveni are all saints. I'm saying that uh, uh, they might have, you know, have their, you know, evil deeds or committed crimes during their rule, but you cannot compare. It's not to the scale of what the globalists are doing as far as, you know, they might not have been involved in things like child trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking. I don't think so. And that's regard to Saddam Hussein, Idi Amin, and Museveni. That's not to say that we're angels, okay? But back to Kenya. So the bigger point that I want to make here about all this, okay, with you know, now that we're learning that the Kenyattas and the Uhuru Kenyatta regime and his friends, including, you know, Ruto, and it's still going on in Kenya. Human trafficking is still going on in Kenya. Children are still being trafficked in Kenya. But what I'm trying to say is that our country, Kenya, is ruled by people who have been compromised by the global elites. That's why I usually say this. It will be very hard to take out someone like Ruto. Now, I would like to talk about the politics in Kenya in depth, what's going on, but I was not planning on me staying here for long because I'm going to watch a couple of matches today. So, in my next video, I will go deep into what's happening in Kenya as far as the political nonsense theater. Listen, let me just say this right now. All you see right now in Kenya as far as politics, it's all about theater, theatrics. It's drama scripted from the opposition to the ruling party, to the administration, to judges, to the members of public, to the members of parliament, representatives. It's all about acting. Nobody is out there seriously advocating for change. Very few. All these people are connected. I told you that global elites have penetrated deep into the politics of Kenya and propped up the worst among us as our leaders, as our representatives, as our lawmakers, and they play these scripts that are written to them, pretending to be fighting, pretending to be having, you know, ideological differences and political differences in public, but these guys belong to the same club. That's why I'm saying, and let me say this, we might need something more than just a popular revolution in Kenya in order to remove Ruto, and not just Ruto, the whole political corrupt elites of Kenya. We might need something, I dare say, armed struggle. I'm not saying that we should have an armed struggle. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that might be the only way to clear off the rotten political class of Kenya. Yes, Agodia is saying Kenya is full of BS. The politicians all looking after each other, united opposition and the present government. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I've been saying this. That's why it explains why Ruto and Kenyatta Uhuru were not prosecuted at the ICC because they already compromised. Okay? All this fight you see between the united opposition versus you Rutos, you one times, you two, it's a bunch of baloney. I'm telling you, it's a bunch of baloney. Easily jokes. There's no serious candidate in 2027. I know Miguna is running, but I don't think. Realistically, he's not going to win. Let's just keep it a buck here, okay? And I doubt even if I even doubt if they're going to give him airtime to give his view on anything. I don't even think they will let him back in Kenya. Okay, so it will take the people of Kenya, the wananchi, to organize and agonize in order to realize change. Because even the popular revolution that we attempted in June 24th, you saw how it was heavily infiltrated after Raila Odinga came and spoiled the party. So it will be very difficult, absolutely very, very difficult to have a popular revolution in order to take out Ruto. The only way I say we can take out Ruto at this point, like I say, unfortunately, it might be the last option, and the worst option is through an armed struggle. That's the only way. So the people have to organize and get militant, as the picture you see on your screen. That's how Castro did it. Castro tried the popular revolution. He was arrested when he was a student. Then when he was released, he saw that popular revolution was something that he could not do because the president at the time had infiltrated every aspect of government, every arm of government, and was paying off any activists, killing every opposition. So what did Fidel Castro do? He went to the bush and he found Che Guevara, who shared the same vision, and they marched to Havana and took power. Not through negotiation, not through handshake, not through broad base. Same thing with Traore, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. They did not enter into a government of national unity, broad base. So you what shares, like Jaguar I was negotiating for 30%. That will not bring real change. We need a total overhaul, a revolution, total overhaul of the system. And now a popular revolution is not an option. So we have to look for another option, which I've said to you. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comrades, I will not go beyond this. I'll speak much later. I'll come in with later on and talk about other stuff that's going on in Kenya, like the 11 billion. Is it 11 billion that was lost? That was collected for SHA. You saw how arrogant Duale was speaking to Jeff. These guys are stealing left, right, and center. And no one seems to care. No one is in the streets. No one is protesting. If anything, we are clapping at this, cheering on at these people for them to give us a portion of the loot they've stolen. They show up in expensive suits, helicopters, luxurious cars, addressing us as if we are ants, semi-humans, throwing us a few cash, a few tokens, so we can keep on praising them and clapping at them while we talk day and night about the opposition and Ruto. You know, you go to different podcasts, listen to different podcasts, people are just talking about how Ruto is so bright and how he's so cunning and charming and clever that he's going to win the 2027 election. You're worried about Ruto's plan instead of planning how to remove Ruto. The opposition, the whole lineup is a bunch of people who have actively brought this country to where it is right now. And you see them like Martha Karua with a kitenge walking around, all of a sudden she's the savior. Eugene Wamalwa, as useless as Eugene Wamalwa is, Gachagua, a non-corrupt murderous DO who analyzed a lot of people in 1992. Kalonzo Musyoka, the most useless public official in the history of Kenya, who served under Moi, Uhuru, Ruto, Kibaki, Mudavadi, Wetangula. These people have stolen, looted Kenya to the ground. Now they're telling you, oh, they're the option, that removing Ruto will be the panacea to our problems. Natem Bear was brutalizing people in Nino when he was working under Nino, under Uhuru. These are the people who are showing up with when I'm here to Tawe, and they're clapping at these people. That's why I say, hey, the only way now will have to be through an armed struggle, not a popular revolution. Popular revolution will not remove Ruto. Ruto has fortified his position. He learned his lesson in June 24th after Raila saved his behind. So now we have to do it. The Burkina Faso way. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Hit the bell button and talk to you guys. Peace and blessings.